what the state of play actually is, because it seems like a lot of things at the moment to be a slightly confused picture. John, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
I know.
It's a very sad... Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, I know you guys have had a terrible, terrible time of it. What's the sort of landscape like at the moment, John?
It's very sad because the extension of lockdown means we've either had to cancel a lot more events or move them, and then we find out it's not a level playing field or tennis court or racetrack because they're allowing all these mass events at Silverstone, Wimbledon, the football, and all these events earn money from TV. The audience are like window dressing, really, and we can only pay for our events if people buy tickets, and that's where the costs come from.
Sure.
So we're very upset by it, believe you me.
Yes, I can tell. Because I don't blame you. I mean, I know a lot of people in the restaurant business who are still angry because they can't really make any money. They can open, but they can't really do much. Similarly, for some of the restaurants, some of the events organisers like yourself, John, if they have been able to go ahead with an event, it's been so small in terms of the numbers of tickets that you can sell that presumably it's not really commercially viable.
No, you can't make any money on a restricted capacity because you've still got to pay everybody the same fees. You've got to pay the same amount of money for fences, generators, everything that goes with it.
Yeah.
The weekend download for 10,000 people, which is a fifth of what they would normally have, you still have to provide the same infrastructure. And we forced the government to accept test events, and it's achieved nothing, really, because they haven't accepted the findings. It's been leaked today, and it shows that the spike of 15 people in the whole of Liverpool over that weekend is incredible, isn't it?
Well, it really is. And isn't it funny how, whenever there's bad news to impart, they can't wait to get it out there and tell everybody how terrible it is. We've got this new Delta Plus variant, apparently they found in India now. But when they've got good news, they don't seem to want to tell anyone.
Well, I don't understand why they're treating the music business as second-class citizens. To my knowledge, we bring more money to the economy than football does, because football teams pocket their money, and we bring it into the economy.
Exactly right. And so, what have you been told about this task force, John? Because John Whittingdale's been talking this morning on various different outlets, including our own, about how they're looking into the possibility of sort of effectively vaccine passports for things. I mean, what's the status of all of that?
I think they're fobbing us off, but I think it's very, very simple. I mean, people went to the football at the weekend. They just show their phone with 2 vaccinations and get ushered in, and we have to do lateral flow tests left, right and centre to go to a gig in download. Yeah. We can make it really easy and simple and make it possible to have 50,000 people in a field. It's no problem.
Well, that's it. I mean, you're in open air spaces. You've got plenty of space if you wish to do it that way. And if you were going to go down, I mean, I was talking to Ben Habib earlier on this week, who basically said, well, surely if so many people are now either vaccinated or immune in one way or another, you've got pretty good high levels of immunity to anything that's going on. So you don't even really need to do vaccine passports at all, do you?
But as far as I can see, vaccines don't count for music, but they count for every other sport known to man. It's an unfair playing field, as I keep saying.
Yes.
And we're getting quite riled about it.
I'm not surprised. Do you think they just don't get it, John? Because when I talk to people that run pubs and run restaurants, they're of the opinion that these Westminster MPs and ministers now live in such a kind of bubble themselves. They don't really know what the real world is like. They don't know what it's like unless they've flown into Glastonbury in a helicopter because some rock stars invited them. They don't really know what it's like to go to any of these things.
I think they're still living in ivory towers. But when you pay people that level of money, you pay peanuts, you see what you get. Yeah, it's extraordinary when you see their salaries, and they're meant to be running a country.
I know. What about the insurance issue? Because I'm told, like for example, Reading and Leeds festivals, which I think they've sold all the tickets for, are in a kind of slightly cleft stick because they're not sure whether they're covered insurance-wise. Has anything moved on that?
There is no insurance for any event at this moment in time for August or September, and there's rumours that it's going to come in, but nobody's saying the level it's going to come in at. And if it comes in too high, then it makes it financially unviable.
Right, and this would be insurance to cover people getting infected or things being cancelled, or what?
Being cancellation insurance, someone to pay the costs if the event has to be cancelled through some new outbreak. Right. But then I go back to why have we all had these vaccinations?
Right. Well, exactly.
We've got to open up sometime.
Well, exactly. It seems ridiculous when, we were told so many different things last year that, vaccines are the answer, vaccinate the vulnerable, then vaccinate the over 60s, then it was the over 50s, then it was over 40s, then it was everybody, now it's children. You're kind of going, when does this end?
Exactly. And there are going to be other things come along, and we just have to deal with it and live with it and get on with it. Because, everybody is putting aside the mental health issues, everything. Music in the open air is something people crave and they enjoy it and want to go out and enjoy themselves. And when you're restricting that, you're becoming, I don't know, it's horrible. Everybody I know feels it's horrible.
It is. And no, you're absolutely right.
You can still have 20,000 Scottish supporters in Leicester Square.
Yeah.
Drinking a lot and dancing, but you can't dance at a wedding. Explain that to me.
I know. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's bonkers. I mean, my hope, John, and my belief as well, is that people will just start ignoring some of this stuff. But it doesn't help you, of course, because you can't ignore it, because you can't put on a big public event without, permission to do so. But I just think people are getting more and more fed up with it, not least because of what you've just said, but also things like the UEFA delegates coming in, not having to quarantine. I can't go and see my mother who lives in Connecticut. I haven't seen her for 2 years. These bozos can come in.
Beggars belief that we're letting 2,500 people in.
Yeah.
Because they're important. I mean, so what?
Well, also, they're not that important, to be honest. I mean, I just say, no, sorry, if you want to move the tournament, move it. Yeah,
I would say my staff were more important than them, earning them a living and keeping their families alive.
Exactly. And also, you guys, apart from the employment that you provide, apart from the money that you generate, I mean, you need to presumably be, if you're booking Isle of Wight Festival 2022, you're booking people now for that, aren't you?
That's absolutely correct. We've already booked the headliners for next year.
Right.
And next year is going to be twice as busy. Remember that, with all the events moving from last year to this year to next year, there's going to be a raft of shows every weekend.
Right.
And who's got all the money to buy the tickets for it? It's going to be like a concertina effect.
Right. Well, I mean, that's at least something to look forward to. But I mean, what do you look at? Is there a kind of is there a next sort of date in your head as to when you might find something out which is going to be helpful?
I think if it doesn't open up on July 19, there's going to be civil unrest. People are just going to take the law into their own hands, to be perfectly frank.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Well, listen, John, I wish you all the best. I mean, I assume you can't do much now this summer. Are you out of the game for 2021?
Oh, no, we're going to do the festival. We're going to do the Genesis tour in September. We're going to do everything physically possible to make things happen.
Brilliant. Well, listen, we would be very happy to help with anything you need. So just talk to us anytime you want. We'll try and get the message out there.
Thank you very much indeed. Cheers.
John, thanks very much indeed. John Giddings, Isle of Wight Festival organiser. It's absolutely tragic. It's absolutely tragic that these guys are having to go through this nonsense, because it's not just the fact that they don't know whether they can do anything. It's the complete and utter, insanity of some of the comparisons and the way that, as he says, 20,000 Scottish football fans, nothing against Scottish football fans, can dance around, jumping about, being very close to one another, drinking, having a great time. I mean, it did look like fun, but nobody else can do anything. You can't dance at your own wedding. You can't wear a veil without wearing a mask. I mean, really? Is this what we've come to? For heaven's sake. We'll take some calls. 0344